Morning to ladies and gentlemen. Today is the second part of the electrical fires in building. Mitigation techniques and building classification. One is global standard and Indian perspective. Very important subject. We are overwhelmed with the response. So we have almost 1,200 registration from all across India. And I'm very happy to see that a lot of corporates this time has joined the webinar. While we are on this subject today, hope you have seen the news. Early in the morning today at 2 o'clock, there's a 20-story building called Kamla building in Mumbai. Went into flame on 18th floor. 2 people unfortunately lost their life, and 15 people supposed to be injured in the fire. So this is the common news that we get every day. Some hospitals are on fire, some buildings on fire, some warehouses are on fire, and some malls. Where I'm from Bangalore, I stay very close to the recent fire called the South India Mall, which is around 2 kilometers away from us, entirely burned down. So the fire happened at 3 o'clock in the midnight, and the cause of all this fire is simply electrical short circuit. Today, I'm sure Mr. Gopak Kumar will touch upon the reasons and what are the, very important to, listen from him, the causes for this fire. And today's webinar is an initiative from Cape Electrical, who's celebrating the 25th year of existence in Indian market. Cape Electrical, the Electric Private Limited, established in 1996. Cape are the first and front runner in various technological products in India, be it lighting protection or electrical insulation materials. The reactive power compensation panels for wind turbine marked its quality during 1997. Later, DC combiner solution for solar PV during 2002. Cape technical seminars and webinars on electrical safety not only help industries to solve their problems, but gave an in-depth knowledge about international standards. Safety for all is the motto. Technical team in Cape is continuously trained to provide end-to-end solution from design to implementation of various safety products and services to the industry. Our speaker today, Mr. Gopak Kumar, probably would have done over 1,000 seminar and webinar in recent time. He is there in every week, traveling across length and breadth of the country, and also on virtual platform is talking about importance of life in the electrical safety. We are all blessed today to have our keynote address, Mr. R.C. Sharma. With his experience, he fought many electrical fires in Delhi. While he was officer in Delhi, he was the first person to respond to the infamous tragedy, Upar Cinema. He was the first one to enter into the building and rescue many people. I'm sure he'll be sharing what caused these major fire and how he came across fighting such fires across, and not only the buildings and also the industries. He is the disaster management expert, MBA graduate in disaster management from IP University, New Delhi, and passed the exams of Institution of Fire Engineers in UK and MI Fire. He was the first director of Delhi Fire Service and DIG Fire in CISF, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. As a DIG Fire, headed the CISF rescue team in Bhuj during the Gujarat earthquake. He is the trained professional from National Fire Service College. He served with Steel Plant Fire Service of Morocco, Bihar, and worked as a fire officer in Delhi Electrical Supply Undertaking and Indian Oil Corporation and Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, HAL, in Bangalore. He's also been consultant advisor to various departments, including Kerala state government projects in the year 2020. He is presently the visiting faculty member in GS of Indraprastha University, Delhi, Haryana Institute of Public Administration, Gurgaon, Administrative Training Institute, Institute Nainital, Uttarakhand, and National Institute of Forensic Science, Rohini, Delhi. And I now welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Ashish Sharma, to give opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm just, I feel very happy that I've been given this opportunity to share my experiences, and probably this should help many of us to really understand the way things went wrong and the way things happened, and we had to face the way the things went. Some of them were very nasty, and we had many people dying. We tried to do our best. Still, we could not save everybody, just like Mr. Dominic mentioned about Upar Cinema. Well, that too was a electrical fire in a transformer at ground level, and probably the same transformer had a fire in the same morning around 7 o'clock. Fire brigade was called, and probably at that time nothing was at stake, so no problems. So some repairs were carried out, and then subsequently, probably in the evening, say around 4:58 or so, around 5 o'clock, the fire took place in the same transformer again. And probably because I was involved in that particular incident during the investigation of the fire, also with the CBRI and maybe other agencies investigating into the cause of fire, it could by and large establish that probably it was one of the loose connection to the transformer, which probably got heated, and the cable just came out, and it just because of the loose joint. This thing was because evening, normally 4:35, it was the month of June, we got tremendous load on the electricity, because in the month of June it's very sultry and maybe very hot, and so the AC air conditioning load is too much on all the buildings. They are using AC, so power load was too much, and because of that probably the heating was a little more than what will happen normally. Probably it didn't happen in the morning, but that time it happened, and probably that cable, just because of the loose contact getting heated and coming out of the nut bolt tightened onto the transformer, fell on the side and caused the burning of the transformer oil cooling fins. Oil started leaking, burning oil came out of the transformer room and set fire to the cars, and that is a big story after that. So only thing I want to just emphasize upon this is that we have seen many electrical fires. I have been in the industries, and during my tenure with CSF, I happened to go to many of the NTPC power plants and maybe refineries and other places where CSF is functional. Apart from my association with the industries for about 15 years, which I gathered was that electrical fires, they keep happening. And many of the times, I tell you, in Delhi Fire Service also, by the time we go to the place, fire is started with a big bang, and we find by the time fire brigade reaches, the fire is extinguished, automatically controlled. Most of the time, when there is nothing to burn next to this electrical fault or something, then things just they cool immediately. They for a few seconds probably, or maybe in a minute or so, big bang will be there. A lot of smoke is there, and if nothing is there to burn, things they come to control automatically. Maybe most of the times you find that some of the safety devices, they may be getting to work, and they trip the electric supply. If that happens, maybe whatever is the reason, many of the incidents we find that the fire, this is normally controlled before the arrival of fire department. But then when we look into those things, we find that yes, something has gone wrong. And in fact, in such cases also, it's sometimes when there's an electrical panel fire or something in a thing, and things have on its own, it has a fire is controlled, then we find the room is completely full of smoke. And locating that problem, where was the problem, which panel or was involved in fire, that's a big job. So normally what I find is that whenever there's an electrical fire, invariably we find huge amount of smoke, and that smoke normally doesn't allow anybody, even he's present there in the vicinity of the where fire has taken place, to locate the seat of fire. So our problem as a fire department is, unless you locate the seat of fire and you're not able to release the your maybe extinguishing media onto the fire, and especially when it is an electrical panel, I mean, injecting that media inside the panel becomes a problem. It's just not feasible at all. So first thing is locating the problem. Then thing is releasing the firefighting extinguishing media into that particular inside. Because if you keep on dousing a electrical panel with anything externally, well, it will not reach inside, and probably it will be wasting the resources, whatever we do have. So that's my personal experience, that we do have in many places. In fact, during my visit to the various places, during my course of inspection of the CSF, huge government structure. I mean, we do have a huge investment made on the total flooding of facilities with the clean agents, because electrical, we know that electrical equipment, instruments, if there is a fire, normally we don't use water. So we don't use water, we have to use some clean agents, or maybe which is not creating a problem, or it's not conducting, like a dry powder, or maybe some gases, or some clean agents, CO2, or maybe whatever we are using. That's immaterial. But what I have seen in my this experience is that we do have a total flooding system provided, which means that we try to get the information of a fire from the smoke detector, which is installed in the ceiling of the room. And well, fire in a panel, smoke comes out, reaches the ceiling, then it gives an alarm, and then we release automatically a firefighting media is released, maybe from the ceiling. Well, that is it appears to me it appears very absurd, because fire is inside a panel and we are filling the room. Well, and then maybe that even people are sitting there in the room, even then it is going to happen this way. So best is probably, I think we may have to change our strategy in that sense, because if we detect the fire within the panel and release the firefighting extinguishing media within that panel, we need very small quantity. It is going to be more efficient, and probably otherwise it is not feasible to really use any of the extinguisher to extinguish the fire practically. So now, with that remarks, that's my experience. And Mr. Dominic mentioned about the fire today. Well, we don't have much of the information, but I'm sure that fire happened in one of the flats, whatever it is, whatever could be the reason. That's a different issue to be. Maybe that again it is blamed on electricity, and possibly it could be electricity as well. So whatever could be the reason for that. But one thing, the cause of death must have been because of the smoke inhalation by the people who were trapped there, and probably the smoke has traveled to the other floors, on the upper floors, or maybe on the same floor on the other side. So probably they were affected by smoke. So now this is what the important factor, which for the life safety, when we talk about life safety, is that the built-in facilities in a building, they have to be so designed that in case something goes wrong in one of the part of the building, things should not escalate to the rest of the building horizontally and vertically. So that is here the fire brigade doesn't come into picture directly, because they must have seen the building plans, they must have approved it, they must have seen the firefighting facilities and allowed that occupancy of the building. That's a different issue, but these have to be maintained as well. So probably we'll get to know how things went wrong, or what was the situation there, and what happens basically. So now this, I would like to just, because Mr. Gopakumar is there, he's a well-experienced person. I have heard him a number of times, and he was the faculty in the IP University when we were attending some other training program. So I know that he's an excellent knowledge about the subject. And the most important factor which I gathered from his thing is that at times we provide the MCBs, miniature circuit breakers, but they are oversized, or they are beyond the capacity of this thing. So because as a fire officer, we are our access to these things is limited to that whatever safety devices are there, and whatever they should trip whenever there is a problem, and if they trip, then probably the fire will not escalate, and probably then we can control the fire. It may continue still, maybe some rubber parts or insulation is burning, that we'll have to take care. But yes, this can be taken care of. But if it continues to be power supply is not disconnected, and there is MCB do not trip, or ELCB, whatever is RCCB, they fail to trip, and then that is the biggest problem, because we have seen things happening now. Just the last example I'll quote is, we had number of ventilator fires in hospitals. Mr. Dominic mentioned about hospital fires also. We have seen CCTV footage of some of the COVID hospital in Gujarat. There that in presence of 2 or 3 doctors, a ventilator machine equipment got electrical fire, and they probably could not switch off the power supply. And that within about 80 seconds after the start of fire, the big room where the 5 patients were there, the 4 doctors were barely able to get all of the 5 patients out, and they were able to walk with some support. So luckily, none of them was harmed in this particular fire. But now, when we see that, my thinking is that all these equipment like ventilators, why not provide a MCB onto the equipment itself? Like we have got window ACs, we have got air conditioners in the houses, and all the equipment, we have got a normally, we see that a power cable or maybe an extension cord. Extension cord does have a fuse inside, so that if the power is taken a little more than that, then probably that fuse will trip. It will give way. So now, I don't know, maybe Mr. Gopakumar will come out with something like this. So what I say is that we have got some MCBs and other devices, safety devices onto the circuit in every house. Will it not be better if we have an additional safety onto each and every electrical equipment which is consuming power, so that if something goes wrong with the equipment, we know what ampere it is, what is the power it is consuming. And if we have got a facility which can trip that electric power supply to that equipment, probably most of the problems of electricity, the fires as a result of this type of incidents, which is setting fire to the house and causing that big problem of smoke and other whatever is happening, probably I think that will be something better if we are able to do that. So with this, with just a final word, that most of the electrical fires, they start with a bang, and normally a huge amount of smoke is given out, and wherever these things have happened, on my personal experience, talking to the people what they saw, what happened, they immediately says we had to get out of the room, we had to run away practically, and when we came out, we tried to do something and came back, we could not locate the seat of fire. It was all full of smoke. Now, what I feel is that in such electrical areas, or maybe wherever it is, possibility is there, the smoke venting facility, maybe natural ventilation, especially the common areas where, corridors or maybe stairs, that is very much necessary. Either mechanical ventilation or maybe natural ventilation. So smoke venting should be given a priority where possibility of electrical fire is there. And if we are able to switch off the power supply, I see the 99% fire will be out normally. And then we can use anything, even water can be used. But the fire brigade people are, we can use water on the live electrical fires also, transformer fires. They are fought by the high velocity water spray systems. So to that extent, fire brigade can do it. But we as a normal person, we in the buildings or wherever we are there, we have to be really careful and see that if we are able to cut off the power supply, switch off the power supply, then I think most of the things are taken care of. Firefighting is a subsequent thing. Availability of the other things is will be mattering in that. But for the life safety, the smoke is the biggest killer. We must all know, and probably then we have to take care accordingly. I think, Mr. Dominic, that was something to set the ball rolling, and we can have Mr. Gopakumar to come ahead with his presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.